Hello, Digi fam. It has been a hot minute. It's Prodigious here again, throwing you some more deck profiles. Now, I know I'm still owe you a bunch of videos coming up here soon from the Digital Gate tournament. I have not forgotten about it. Let's just say I kind of got detoured between things picking up and being busy at work and just life in general. On top of my initial short break from doing the Digital Gate tournament was to go ahead and give myself some time to get myself some playtesting in, so that way I can bring you the hottest and greatest new things from the AD01 set. And there's still plenty more I have not had a chance to playtest thoroughly. But today I'm going to bring you a deck profile of one of my favorite decks. We're going to be looking at a new take on the classic EX4 style of what people call ping pong Omnimon. Now, this deck originally was all black and came out back in EX4. Pardon me. And it would focus on the strategy of being able to have both Agu and Gabu out at the same time and ping pong with various effects to Evo one and then Evo the other for a reduced cost. But now, with the game's speed up, let's just say it needed an overhaul. And thanks to AD01, along with a little bit of the new stuff we got back in, what was it? I think EX9? Yeah, EX9. We got a brand new take on that classic engine. But now, instead of just doing a reduced Evo ping pong, we Evo for free. Let's get into it and see what I've come up with. Alright, so what you see here on the screen is what my current build is. I have been playtesting this thing thoroughly as much as I possibly can, trying different combinations of different cards. And let's just say this is pretty much what I've settled on. Now, if you want to try this deck yourself, by all means, go ahead. You don't have to copy this exactly, but for the most part, this is what you're going to run. So, starting off with the classic EX4 stuff, we're running the Omnimon egg. This has the effect of when one of your other Digimon digivolves, you draw a card. You want a lot of draw power for this deck because you have to see a bunch of pieces. You can make it work when you don't see all your pieces, and we'll get into that. But let's just say this helps. Now, I have seen some tournament results where people have actually in favor when they're going up against the Shine Greymon Ruin Mode match, actually favor the Koromon egg that comes out of the Adventure Starter deck that just straight up just gives you a 1000 DP. Reasoning behind that is when you're up against Ruin Mode and you manage to at least Evo into your champions in the back and raising, you're going to have at least 6000 DP versus 5000, which means your body will still be alive, so you can Evo and do your tricks. So you can keep that in mind. Personally, I'm going with the card draw. Now, another classic one from the EX4 is the Agumon. Now, this is going to be your searcher, as well as a means to give you extra memory, so that way you can pull off your combos. Because if played correctly, this deck can successfully go up into 2 level 6s as long as you have at least 1 memory, you have at least 1 rookie on board, and you have the appropriate other rookie rather in hand or in trash, which again we will cover. This is also going to be your searcher, so it has on play, reveal top 3, add 1 Digimon card with Greymon in its name, and 1 Digimon card with Gabu or Gururu or Omni. So this is going to let you grab 1 for its own line, and then 1 of the partner line, or an Omni. But then after the search, those cards go back on top of the deck. So sometimes that might hurt you, but most of the time I find the ability to actually go ahead and still draw what you revealed to be a good thing. It also has the inheritable of when one of your other Digimon digivolves, you gain 1 memory. Now this plays into the whole being able to pull off this combo completely with just 1 memory and 1 guy on board, and again we will cover that. Total opposite is the classic EX4 Gabumon. He has the exact same inheritable, pretty much the same on-play effect, but now it's the opposite. He's going to let you grab at least 1 thing from his own line, and then you can grab either an Agu or a Gray or an Omnimon, and then the same thing goes back on top. Alright. Last, to help the deck out in terms of trying to have rookies, and to just help us dig in general, we are running the Ukomons. Now the Ukomons, they've been everywhere. They're kind of an essential tool for most decks. They kind of help fill out the line. They help you get some digging and searching. There probably is a couple other different options for rookies you could slap in here. I've seen some people try and slap in, like, say, the Agumon that came out of the starter deck because it's also black. But, again, I think this is the best way to go. Alright, now going into our champions and level 5s and level 6s. Here is our new Greymon. This replaces the old black EX4 Greymon, whereas before it would let you go ahead and Evo another body on the board of the opposite type for a reduced cost. Now this one gives us the ability to, when it's on board and it sees the appropriate card get played or Evo, which is going to be its partner Tamer or the partner Digimon, you get to Evo into the next level for free. Now, unlike the other one, we also get some bonus effects on this. The O1, I think you got like a level 4 inheritable of Reboot, which was okay. This we get Raid, so that comes in handy sometimes. But most of all, we also have the on-play when digivolving effect of when this comes out, you can go ahead and grab back a Greymon, Garurumon, or Omnimon name card from your hand, or from your trash to your hand. So this helps you grab your missing pieces. I've had games of where I don't feel confident trying to just go willy-nilly, but then I've had games of where I will actually go ahead and have several cards in my hand, but not all the pieces. So that means I feel confident enough to go ahead and push out, go into, say, like a Garurumon, swing with it for chip damage. If it dies, it dies. It's okay, because I actually have this guy in hand that I know that when the time comes, I can play him, or preferably Evo him, so that way I can grab the other piece back and continue up my chain. Alright, our other level 4 is the new AD01 Garuru. Now, he has a great effect on him. On play when digivolving, just draw a card. Like I said before, there's a lot of pieces you're trying to find for this deck, so draw power is essential. So I will often go ahead and wait to push out, Evo into this guy, so that way I can get a card draw for my Evo, card draw for Evoing into him via his on-play when digivolving effect. And then same thing like Greymon, when he sees the appropriate Tamer or appropriate other half on the board get played or digivolved, he lets you Evo into the next line for free. Also has a great inheritable of jamming. I've had games of once I've Evo'd into him and then Evo into any level 5, because you can have situations of where you just don't see your pieces. So I'll had games of where I actually evolve one of my Metal Greymons on top of this, and that will give me jamming. That means I'm able to now swing with a level 5 and be confident that I'm not going to die to a bigger Digimon. Now we go into our level 5s. So we got Metal Greymon Altaurus mode. He has a great inheritable once you get past him of just giving you a plus 4,000 DP boost. Great. Otherwise, he has an on-play when digivolve effect of popping an 8k or lower body. And then same thing with our previous stuff. He's looking for rather the appropriate Tamer, in this case a Tai, or the other Garurumon in name card to be played or Digivolve, and that will let him go into his next stage for free. I've had games of where I actually don't see everything I need, and I have a level 4 on board that I pushed out from raising, evoed into it. I will hard slam a level 5 if I know I have the other appropriate level 5 in my hand, and that will let me go ahead and evo it for free. And then of course if I have my level 6s, I just go into them as well. So it is possible for you to actually go up your entire chain by seeing all your pieces like you need to see, or just improvising. There's a lot more leeway with this version of it compared to the EX4 days. Alright, now we got Weregurumon's Sagittarius mode. He has on play when Digivolving. One of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers can't suspend until their turn ends. Like I previously stated, I've had games where I will hard slam him most often just to get that stun effect, plus get a potential evo on the other half. And then same thing, your turn, whenever your Digimon or Tamers are played, if the appropriate name comes up, you can evo up. Very good. And another thing I really love about this, and because it's becoming more prevalent in today's games, is de-Digivolve when attacking as an inheritable on this guy. That is awesome. There are so many games where it really changes the battle just by being able to swing on any of your level 6s and have de-Digivolve. And again, I've even had games where I actually go ahead and evo Blitz Greymon on top of my Weregaruru, just so that way I can get Blitz Greymon's de-Digivolve effect off the bat, and then forever, whenever I swing with him, I'll get an additional de-Digivolve. Alright, now going into our level 6s, we have Blitz Greymon here. He has Alliance, he has Pierce, he has Blocker. On play when Digivolving, de-Digivolve 3 on one of your opponent's Digimon, then until your opponent's turn ends, this Digimon isn't affected by your opponent's effects, and one of your other Digimon with Garurumon in its name is also protected. So he enables protection for the turn on him, plus something else that has Garurumon in name. Very strong. Last but not least, he has two other things to cover. He has the end of turn, two of your Digimon may DNA Digivolve into Omnimon Alter S in the hand, then one of your Digimon may attack. So this is actually two separate effects in one. If you have the Omni in hand, great. If you don't, you can go ahead and still trigger his effect to go ahead and just make something be able to attack at the end of turn. If you actually have an Omni in hand but you don't want to trigger it just yet, same thing. You can go ahead and just choose to have something swing, but keep the Omnimon in hand for the opposite effect that we're going to see here in a minute on Garuru. Last but not least, this guy has the inheritable of Security Attack Plus. Alright, Garuru. He has Alliance and Evade. I can't count how many times the Evade has actually come up and be so good, partnering with his second effect on here. So he has on play when Digivolving and when attacking, but only once per turn. So you have to make sure you get the timing right when you activate it. You may return one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon to the hand. Then this Digimon and one of your Digimon with Greymon in its name may unsuspend. This works great with its Alliance mechanic. So more often than not, if you have both of these guys out, you're going to probably choose to swing with Cress and just Alliance with the Blitz, unsuspend, and then that gives you the option of rather swinging again with Alliance or without, or just keeping them both up because he has Evade while the Blitz Greymon has Blocker. Very strong combination. Secondary effect. Opponent's turn once per turn. When one of your opponent's Digimon attacks, two of your Digimon may DNA Digivolve into Omnimon Alter S in the hand, then you may change the attack target to one of your Digimon. So again, like Blitz, this is actually two effects in one. You can, even if you have the Omnimon in hand, you can choose to trigger that effect and just have the attack get redirected. If it's an attack that would supposedly destroy even Garurumon here, you can still go ahead and choose to direct it to him. his evade will trigger. It will see that he's trying to take the hit and die from battle. You activate evade, you tap him. Guess what? He's not leaving the field. He's still there. Alright, last but not least, he has this great inheritable of this Digimon's attack target can't change. So blockers or other redirect effects do not work. Once you go into your level 7, you have a security attack plus, and you have the ability of having your attack not redirected. You are doing a guaranteed 2 hits on security. Now it's important to note another great thing about these 2 level 6s. With everything this deck is already trying to do, these level 6s actually have assembly. The way assembly works is if the appropriate cards are in your trash, when you hard play these guys, you are able to take the appropriate name cards and stack them underneath it just like a normal stack in order to reduce its cost by 4. In this case, you put Wereguru Sagittarius and Garurumon underneath this guy. You can basically hard play this version of Crest Garuru for 8 instead of 12, and on top of it, get your whole inheritables of jamming plus the inheritable of when attacking Digivolve 1. Granted, he has to stick around on the field for that part first, but it can happen. Again, another example is I've actually had scenarios of where I will have a level 5 Metal Greymon on the field, level 6 Blitz Greymon in my hand. I have all the pieces I need for Crest Garurumon in my trash. I will hard play Crest Garuru. He will absorb the pieces, and then Blitz Greymon will, or not Blitz Greymon, but Metal Greymon Altarius mode will see that Crest got played and Evo into my Blitz Greymon. Boom, I instantly got both level 6s out. Yes, it did cost quite a bit of memory, but it doesn't matter because as soon as both of them are out, this guy's protection effect will kick in, and there you go. Alright, on to the powerhouse of this deck, Omnimon Ultra S. I am a huge fan of watching the Digimon 2020 reboot, and when I saw this take on Omnimon, I loved it. So I'm glad he's finally getting a new incarnation. I do wish he was slightly different in terms of the whole DM trait stuff, but that's okay because it still works for this deck. So what does he do? He has when Digivolving. If DNA Digivolving, your opponent's effects don't affect this Digimon for the turn. So nothing can affect him at all if he DNAs. But regardless, if you still just Evo him for his Evo cost on top of either your level 6s without the DNA effect, you still go ahead and get to delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. So he'll only get that protection if you actually do the straight up DNA part. Then, at the end of attack, you may play one card with Greymon in its name or the version 1 trait, and one card with Garurumon in its name or the version 2 trait from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. If this effect played, place this Digimon as your top security card. So after you hit really hard on your opponent, they couldn't block it, you did 2 checks, this thing goes to the top of your security, so it's going to be the first big body your opponent swings into. And it spits out the 2 other bodies. Now, most often or not, you are going to spit right back out your level 6s, that way you can repeat the whole process again of getting protection, bouncing a thing, and having both of those in a turn effects or opposite turn effects. So more often than not, you will do that. But sometimes, if you have the right cards in your hand, you may choose to go ahead and just bring back any of your other level 4s, level 5s, and just start the whole climb all over again. Heck, I mean, if that's the only Omnimon you drew into, but you have a bunch of the other cards in your hand along with level 6s, spit back out your level 4s. They'll see each other, you'll grab something from trash, you'll draw a card, you go right back into your level 5s, repeat their process all over again, stun and pop a body of 8k or lower, and then you go back into level 6s all over again. And by the time you get done with all that, that's going to be at least 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 card draws. So hopefully with those extra 4 card draws, you will probably see another Omnimon Ultra S. Alright, now, In a previous version of this deck, I did not run it. I'm currently been trying it with one copy in here, and I will go over notes on my slightly alternative version of this build of what I ran versus what I'm running now. It's kind of a flip-flop on either or. In my previous build, I only ran the Ultra S's from EX 9 here. But I am running at least one copy currently of the old school Omnimon Ultra S that we got from EX4. Now the reason behind that is this is strictly more of a defensive play. It's not going to be as strong offensively as the other Omnimon. Here's the reason why. It has when Digivolving, you will delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less, and then return one of your opponent's level 6 or higher Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. So it pops something at a lower cost, but it bottom decks something of a higher level. And then it has an all turns effect that just says when this Digimon would leave the battle area other than by one of your effects, you can play one Blitz and one Crest from its Digivolution cards without paying a cost, and then place this card on the bottom of your security stack face down. So not like the other Omnimon, it's going to go to the bottom. Why this is defensive is because the all turns effect means that even if this guy were to run up against somebody that's even bigger in terms of DP and he would die, it's still going to go to your security and it's still going to pit out your two other bodies, and you'll still get their on-play effects of being able to de-digivolve, be able to bounce something. So, I mean, you still get stuff out of it. It still gives you another card back into your security. So it's still all good. Okay, now next, I am running 3 copies of the appropriate Tai, Kamiya, and Matt Ashita that also came from EX9. This card has on play, you may return one card with Greymon, Garurumon, or Omnimon in its name from your trash to your hand. If this effect didn't grab a card from your trash, you draw a card. And then it has the typical Tai and Matt effect that we've seen in the past for Omnimon builds, of where if you were to play or Digivolve into either of them, you can suspend this thing, and it gives you 1 memory if you have at least one of those 2 out. It gives you 2 memory if you have both of them. Alright, and now another secret combo card that makes this deck really come together and work with the black base from the EX4 is the Matt and Tai Tamer. If you look closely, it even features Omnimon Ultra S behind them. So what does this thing do? Okay, so what this is going to do, it's going to enable our combo, like I said, of being able to pull the entire thing off, even at 1 memory. When you play Gabumon or Agumon, by suspending this Tamer, gain 1 memory. So just when hard playing either or, you can suspend it to gain a memory. That's great. Next part. When one of your Digimon digivolves, if you have 1 or fewer Digimon, you may play 1 Gabumon if that Digimon has Greymon in its name, or an Agumon if it has Garurumon in its name from your hand or trash without paying the cost. Pardon. So, the way the combo works is if you're at 1 memory, you push out either or of Agu or Gabu, but you have, let's say, an example, Greymon in your hand. Okay, that means all you need to have is at least a Gabumon in your hand or in your trash. You Evo, it's going to see that you only have 1 Digimon Evoing, so it's going to let you go ahead and play the Gabu, and then when that Gabu gets played, you gain a memory. So if you're at 1 and you're paying 2, it would normally go to your opponent's side at 1. Nope. It goes back to 0. Alright, so now you got back to 0. You've evoed into Greymon and you got another body out, Rookie. It's going to do its on-play effect, do some digging. Now all you need to do is go ahead and evo into the appropriate other half. In this example would be Garuru. That costs 2 memory. That's going to make it go to 2 on your opponent's side. But we're not done with our effects yet. because these two guys have the inheritables that both say when one of your other Digimon digivolves, gain 1 memory. So our first one that we evoed is going to see that the second one got evoed and gain a memory. And then when our Greymon eventually evos again into Metal Greymon, our second body we put out is going to see that it evolved and gain us another memory. Now we're back at 0. And all the while, we are going to be ping-ponging and evoing and going up to our level 6s while hopefully maintaining memory at 0. So that is how that combo works. Alright, now another card in here that I've been playtesting. It's come up in certain situations to do at least one thing. It might do both in the right situations for the other. But I am running at least 2 copies of Miraculous Mega Knight. What this card does is you do have to have the appropriate colors out before you can play it, which our tamers are both red and blue, so they will fix that. So all you gotta do is see at least one of your tamers and you're good. Alright, so for 2 costs, you can play an Agu or Gabumon from your hand or trash without paying the cost, and then place this card in the battle area. So think of this as like a little mini version of having an extra rookie, but you have to already have a rookie in hand or trash and the appropriate colors to use it. But the other kicker, and it can come up, it doesn't always, but it can, is all turns delay effect. When one of your level 6 Digimon with Greymon or Garurumon in its name would leave the battle area outside of battle, you can activate the delay effect, and that is to allow you to go ahead and DNA into an Omnimon card in hand. So let's say you've actually worked to try and grab some pieces. You still don't have all your pieces. You've had to improvise, just evo up any way you can. You got to at least one of your level 6s. You finally drew into the other one, but you don't have the time to build a whole separate stack. You have this card out from where you played it earlier. If your opponent is foolish enough to try and pop your stack in some form or fashion outside of D-Digivolve, you can trigger that, and that's going to allow you to DNA into an Omnimon in your hand, and then you get to trigger their wonderful effects and just spit out 2 level 6s. So it can come up. It doesn't always come up, but it can come up. Last but not least, its security effect is also very good for helping with the high costing tamers that we have in this deck. You may play 1 card with Tai Kamiya or Matt Ashita in its name from your hand or trash without paying the cost, then add this card to your hand. Alright, last but not least, a card I definitely ran in this deck just because is the starter deck from the adventure deck, Our Courage United. This option card works great because we already have a black base with our eggs and rookies. I've had games of where I don't draw the most ideal hand. Before I even bother trying to evo my egg into a rookie, I will go ahead and play this first just to see if I can draw 2 cards and draw something ideal to give me a better idea of what I need to play going forward. Not to mention its delay effect comes in handy very much. I've had games of where my opponent will pop a stack eventually, or pop part of the stack while I was building up. If it was a level 5 or higher, and this card's out, it lets me go ahead and play out something else. I've had people who've gotten really annoyed with me freezing them with Were Garurumon. They pop it to get rid of it, only for me to go ahead and have that card out in the field and another copy of that in hand. I just throw down another Were Garurumon and stun the same thing or stun something else. It's very good. It may not seem like it, but that extra bit of card draw and being able to just poop out a body under the right circumstances helps a lot. Alright, now some minor tweaks I'm going to name off of what my previous build of this deck is, and I'm still kind of flip-flopping on it. Just to make note, I am a serious believer in decks that need to have memory fixers. This deck does have a strategy, like I've gone over, of where it can work without a memory fixer. It can actually do its thing with only 1 memory. but you still have to see a lot of pieces. So in my previous version of this deck that I had, I did not even run this Omnimon from EX4. I only ran 2 instead of 3 of the Matt and Ty from EX4. And I was only running 2 copies of Ukumon and not 3. In my previous build, which I'm going to name off right now, besides those 3 cards, the 3 cards that I had in there different was at least 1 copy of the Matt and TK, or TK and Matt, from the Adventure Starter deck that gives your guys Rush. Because when you're doing your shenanigans, it was only 1 copy, but when you do your shenanigans with this deck and you're going into your level 6s, you go into Omnimon Ultra S, you swing with it, you pop out your 2 other bodies, having that 1 tamer out to give these guys Rush, so that way you can get some extra swings in. Yes, it basically just becomes a win more card, but it's a win more card that works immediately. Let's just put it that way. But very situational because, again, it was only 1 copy of it. And at the time, I don't think I could swing it anymore into the deck without sacrificing somewhere else. And then the other 2 cards that I had in here instead were at least 2 copies of the White Adventure Tie. It was a memory fixer. It had 2 abilities to it that made it very, very good to the deck. And I still am kind of debating on going back and forth between this and the build I'm talking about now with these small tweaks. And that is the fact that it, number 1, allowed you that when you swung, you could suspend it to draw a card. Again, card draw for this deck is super important. And second, in the right niche situations, you could go ahead and activate its other effect of where it allows you to play something of a play cost of 2 or less, but you get to increase that play cost by 2 more, I think, for each color of your tamers on the field. And granted, we're only running the white plus the red and blue, but still, that means you could have access to being able to hard play for free with its effect a champion, or heck, throw down one of your level 5s that cost 8 as if they were a rookie. So I'm back and forth on that exact number. Now, a lot of people who build this deck will go for only 3 copies of your level 6s and only 3 of the Ultra S's. You can do that if you want to, but this deck is meant to see all these pieces. It needs as many of them in the deck as possible. You want to see them. You may not see them when you need to see them, but it wants all of them in the deck so that way you can see them in general. And I will stand by that. So that's why I run 4 of the Omni, 4 of the level 6s, 4, 4, 4, 4. The only thing you have wiggle room to play with in this deck, in my opinion, is maybe the Ukumon slot, your tamers, and these option cards that are 100% optional, but again, they do help. I have seen builds floating around of where they try to run like 2 or 3 copies of the dual color memory boost for blue and black, and then likewise for red and black, so that way you can have like a myriad of memory boost to help you dig, and not memory boost, but training cards to help you dig and find the appropriate stuff. And yes, that probably does work, but there's going to be a lot of times of where they can whiff right when you need them most to work on something. So again, I think the key here is not trying to dig for specific cards and then putting stuff back at the bottom. It straight up really is just draw power and a little bit of digging via your rookies. Otherwise, everything else comes down to the luck of the draw and whatever shows up in your trash, because between your Ty and Matt and your Greymon, you can retrieve whatever your opponent might reveal from your security while they're swinging at you. So lots of close calls, but this deck comes out on top in the end in so many games. But anyway, that has been this deck profile. I have been trying to play test and do a bunch of other deck profiles, for other stuff from AD01, but I'm not quite satisfied, and then work got busy. So with all that said and done, I want to eventually do me a big old video that covers all the various types and builds and ways you can do adventure / Omnimon in general. If you would like that kind of video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But this has been Prodigious, and I hopefully will have more of the Digital Gate tournament coming up on my channel with some new videos. That's another thing that's kind of made it wait, because I'm still trying to play test and fine tune some decks so that way they can, let's just say, digivolve in time for their future matches. But I also know as of right now, we also have BT25 out there. Shine Greymon's eating really good between the new Star Deck stuff, the new Agumon and Marcus Tamer we got from AD01, plus the new dual cards. So I know Shine Greymon is definitely eating good. Eventually I will cover him, but for now, this has been Prodigious, and I will see you in the next one.